we want to try to at least minimize our intake of processed foods. What we want to do is recognize where plastic occurs, try not to use as much, and this plastic thing is a political thing. It's got to come from corporations, the change that we need to get away from plastic and into more, biodegradable options, plant-based packaging, other solutions that we've seen. It has to be done by the corporations, which is why it becomes a political situation. Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to another video, another Veggies for Breakfast discussion. I hope you're all doing well. These past 3 days, I was in San Diego. My sister is pregnant with twins right now, so I'm going to be an uncle. Super excited about that. This week, I wanted to talk about two things specifically. Number one, everybody gets hangry. Number two, we need to do something about plastics. I don't have all of the data. I don't have a lot of the data, in fact. I'm not an expert on this subject. Just want to get that disclaimer out of the way immediately. However, I do feel like I am hyper aware of things that are made out of plastic and the role that they have in our environment and what a central role they have actually in our culture. In America, and I think probably in most countries in the world, we're very reliant on plastic bags, plastic bottles, plastic cups, plastic, just about everything. And you would be surprised how much plastic is in a lot of other stuff too. As I'm speaking, this shirt that I'm wearing might have a synthetic polyester in it. There's a bunch of different kinds of plastics, and the point of this video isn't to go into the science or the chemistry because I don't know any of that, but to raise awareness. And really that's the point of this whole channel. Let's start with the piece about being hangry. I think everybody has this, and I think everybody's experienced being hangry, and it's become a bit of a meme in recent years. I feel like I've seen t-shirts and companies using it as feeling hangry, like come have a bite, or it's become a very marketable, sort of trendy term. I feel like I'm an expert on that subject, specifically being hangry. And that's because I was a really moody kid. I didn't have the biggest appetite. And I would just ride these waves of ups and downs. And it was all blood sugar related. I think we all ride waves up and down related to blood sugar. So the moral of the story, long story short, is to stay fed. Stay hungry, stay fed. It's tricky, especially when you're a young kid. You don't have a lot of muscle mass. You don't have a lot of interest in food, really. You kind of want to do everything other than eat, unless it's a Pop-Tart or something delicious like that. Which, speaking of something like that, a Pop-Tart or like sweet cereals or whatever, they spike your blood sugar because they basically those simple carbs turn basically straight to glucose or sugar in the bloodstream. So you feel really good for a little bit. And then basically you crash. And I don't know the science behind that. It's complicated. We won't discuss that in this video, but I did want to just touch on that because I think in general you got a lot of people feeding their kids a lot of simple carbs, and it's a recipe for creating a lot of people with diabetes. I mean, I also don't know the science behind that, but I know that that's real. So, side note on all that, processed foods generally are not very good. Not good for us. You think about what our ancestors ate. It was probably a lot of meat, probably a lot of like berries and fruit and nuts and stuff, foraging. And, the occasional piece of meat or the occasional like deer that, fell and died, or bison or whatever it might be. In general, I think we want to stay away from highly processed foods. This includes things like protein powder. It includes things like artificial sweeteners. It includes, obviously, breakfast cereals, Pop-Tarts, things that come in packages and can stay on shelves for a long periods of time. In general, these things are pretty unhealthy for us and not what our ancestors ate, not what we evolved to consume. So instead of eating something like breakfast cereal at breakfast with pasteurized milk has its own set of issues or concerns. Something like cooked eggs and vegetables, or a sweet potato, or I like to eat a lot of bread personally. That's probably my main source of like processed food is because wheat goes through a lot of stuff to become bread. And that's probably my vice is like whole wheat bread, like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I really like those, which also probably spike your blood sugar, but there's good things in there like the fiber and the sprouted wheat berries that go into the bread. The peanut butter has a lot of protein and good fat in it. The jelly is basically just sugar, unless you get jelly with seeds. We want to try to at least minimize our intake of processed foods. That's just a little side note, unrelated to being hangry or not. I want to talk about being hangry because I think a lot of the world's problems could be solved by people just taking better care of themselves. A lot of the drama, the issues, what we face, the things that we see in other people, the things that upset us, oftentimes are fueled by a lack of quality food in the diet, in the day, in the routine. So I combat being hangry by eating a lot, frankly, eating often and trying to get plenty of protein, plenty of good fats, and minimal processed food. So today I had a fruit smoothie for breakfast with just lean whey protein, no sweetener. I used some agave in there as my sweetener. That was my breakfast, although that barely held me over. A little bit later on, I had some watermelon. I just had a watermelon sitting around my house, so that was delicious. Again, minimally processed. It probably came right out of the ground and then went into the store. And then I had, as a late lunch, I had my usual eggs with green beans and avocado, a little bit of sriracha on there, just like I talked about last week. So yeah, we want to minimize processed foods, if at all possible, and maybe even eliminate processed foods, which is really hard to do in this day and age. Plastic is just the worst thing in so many ways. It's getting into our water. It's getting into our bloodstreams. It is gonna kill us. I mean, I really believe that the plastic problem in the world is like one of the biggest, most important, most tragic issues that we're facing right now. And the moral of that story is, one, to know that it's bad. Two, to recognize where and when it occurs in your day. A plastic bag at the grocery store, a plastic cup, plastic packaging in the food that you buy. This all goes into the landfill. It slowly decomposes. It's like one of the slowest decomposing things. It's extremely convenient, which is why we use so much of it. It's perfect for keeping things wrapped up and safe and kosher and great to put in grocery stores, and everybody feels good when they know something's wrapped in plastic or vacuum sealed or whatever because it is deemed safe then. What we want to do is recognize where plastic occurs, try not to use as much, and this plastic thing is a political thing. It's got to come from corporations, the change that we need to get away from plastic and into more, biodegradable options, plant-based packaging, other solutions that we've seen. It has to be done by the corporations, which is why it becomes a political situation. More of a political issue than it is something that we can change much in our day-to-day life. One thing we can do is bring our own bags to the grocery store so we're not using so many plastic bags. Some grocery stores have places where you can recycle your plastic bags. So I keep all my like bread bags, all my just general like food bags, anything that it's plastic. I take it to Fry's, put it in this big cylinder, and pray and hope that it is recycled somehow, which again, it's just more of a hope than it is something that I know is better than throwing it in the garbage. But it's there, so I feel like those systems must be in place, or maybe that's just there to make me feel better as a person trying to do my part. There's a lot of games like that you play in this when you care about these kinds of things. A big one is plastic in clothes. If we can just buy 100% cotton clothes, I think this shirt is 100% cotton, instead of clothes that have spandex and polyester in them. Because what happens is you do your laundry and little tiny microfibers, microplastics, end up getting pushed out as wastewater from the laundry. They go into the sewers, which end up going, to water treatment plants, which end up going to lawns, or maybe somehow it gets back into the water source, and you got all those little tiny micro particles of plastic. And I think some study has been done about this that says that a lot of people in the modern world have microplastics, trace amounts of it in our bloodstream. I probably do. So that's really kind of a bummer. I'm not trying to harp on that, but these things cause cancer and cause all kinds of problems because they're extremely unnatural. So we have to move away from single-use plastics. Everybody already knows this. And yet we continue to use them in our packaging in grocery stores, in Costco's, in children's toys, in all kinds of things. So it's really frustrating. It's really kind of discouraging sometimes, but that's the point of this channel, is to try to bring hope and to try to educate a little bit and get us all to this point where we can understand a little bit better. Get us all, he says. I mean, it's important to me, and I think it should be important to you, because even for selfish reasons, even if it's not, I want to save the planet and I care about the environment and the ocean has, so much plastic in it. And even if it's, I want to live without plastic in my water. We have to have something done about this. Again, the crisis with plastic is a political situation. It falls on the corporations and the government to regulate some of these things and be a little more firm about what they allow going on grocery store shelves, and hopefully using more biodegradable, plant-based packaging that can decompose a lot quicker and decompose into benign substances as it goes back into the environment. Because right now, plastic bags, plastic toys, plastic, just about anything doesn't do that. It causes all kinds of problems for environments, for animals, for water supply, which is really important for us and our survival. So this is not rocket science. That's why I feel okay starting this channel, because I don't think it takes a genius or someone with a Harvard degree to disseminate this information. But it's shocking to me sometimes to see how few people give a, pardon my language, more often than not, you see people very unaware of a lot of these problems. So yeah, today's video was talking about like blood sugar ups and downs and microplastics and the importance of getting away from these things. So let's do what we can to advocate for getting away from single-use plastics and moving more towards biodegradable packaging, plant-based packaging, cups, plates, silverware, plastic forks and knives, that kind of stuff. We really need to make all of that not out of plastic, but from plant-based sources, so they can decompose and be more benign in our environment so that we can live a happier and healthier life. That's my rant for the day. I hope you're all doing well. Hope this video finds you happy, healthy, and humble. And until next week, this is Sandy from Veggies for Breakfast, signing off. Peace.